Welcome back, everybody, to the Strong Conversations podcast here in beautiful Las Vegas at the NAHB International Builder Show. I am Sam Marcoux, and joining me now in the hot seat, Mr. Tony McKlem from Hollywood Decks. Tony, how you doing?
Pleasure, Sam. Great. We're enjoying the show, and we're getting ready to start this full blast for the next 3 days.
It is going to be a marathon, but at a sprinter's pace.
It
Absolutely.
is absolutely overwhelming, but we always enjoy coming out here, enjoy these conversations, and seeing all the innovations that are coming out in the industry too.
Yeah, what are you most looking forward to over the next 3 days? What are you looking to get into here?
I think one of the things we learned early on at these shows is that it's the people, right? It's the connections. So when you come out here, you get to see these faces once a year sometimes, right? Or maybe two. But we absolutely appreciate being able to make that connection, pick up where we left off last year.
Yeah.
And just see folks that are, in this race in the industry and still going throughout all the changes and ups and downs. It's nice to see the faces out here.
Yeah, it's interesting getting to know you a little bit. And obviously, we work together, the two companies, on many different levels. But Hollywood Decks, you're in North Florida.
Yeah.
But you're originally from Southern California, right?
Yes, sir. Born and raised, yeah.
Born and raised in Southern California, now in North Florida. There's a Hollywood on both coasts.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows that. People think Hollywood like Hollywood, California.
Right.
But Hollywood, Florida is also a thing.
Yeah, so we're born and raised in Los Angeles. My dad worked at the Paramount Studios on Melrose. We lived in the Hollywood area, went to school there. And when we were building and we started getting into the construction industry, we did several projects. We were doing residential, some commercial. We were doing some foundation work and concrete and rebar work in Los Angeles, in South California. And some projects came about. We used to visit family out in Florida.
Yeah.
So we traveled out to Florida, and then we started building a couple of projects down in Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise area, Miami. And so we've built in Hollywood, California. We've built in Hollywood, Florida, and we're originally from Hollywood. So it just made sense. My wife suggested the name. Thank you, honey. And it's had such a great, not only an impact for us, but such a great impact for the client, right?
Yeah.
For all those that we've interacted with.
Well, it's brilliant, right? And it ties in everything, like you said, almost your whole life story there, which I'm fascinated with because, well, tell everybody what do you guys specialize in with Hollywood Decks?
Yeah. So we specialize in the outdoor spaces, right? Primarily decks, but anything that has to do with renovating your outdoor space, we're for you, right? So usually our leeway is a deck, but if you want to add a pergola, a kitchen, right? The hot tub, the pool, the all-inclusive, we're there for you. And the goal is for these homes and these families to have that space, right? To be able to have friends and host and have neighbors come over. And it's been such a blessing to see these projects come to life.
Well, it's amazing too, because, your home is your home, but especially in Florida, like I've been there. I'm a big Miami Dolphins fan. So I go to South Florida a lot, and it's hot. It's sweltering, and you want to, on a nice day, you want to be outside, but you might want to be home. Outdoor living is huge, as you know.
Yeah.
But you want to have a nice place. Like if you don't have a good yard, if you don't have if it's just not appealing, you're not going to spend time there. And then you're like, man, I bought this property, but I'm trapped inside.
Absolutely.
So it's a huge part of the living culture for everyone here in America.
Yeah, when we did the shift, right, and the move, obviously we try to do a little bit of market research, right, and figure out what the outdoor industry was like in that area that we moved to once we left Los Angeles. And like you said, it's Florida, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be outdoors.
Right.
Everybody wants to have a nice space to enjoy, whether it's by the beach or a little river or a lake, whatever it is. These folks out here have just been, fed this pressure-treated wood deck forever.
Yeah.
And even now, there's multi-million-dollar homes being built with pressure-treated decks, right? So I think we get it. I think it's a shift that's slowly happening still, where folks are putting more time and energy and effort and investing into their outdoor space, because they realize that that's where we can spend some time. That's where we can make some memories, not just inside the home.
I got a lot of questions when it comes to building decks in Florida, mainly around alligators, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got some stories.
We got some of those.
But you said the word investing, right? Investing their time and energy into having that nice, beautiful space. It's funny you mentioned that, because you were in the financial world previous to being a decking contractor, right?
Yeah. So I'll give it to you in a nutshell. In high school, actually, I was interested in graphic communications, design, and I was super graphic about everything, right? And so when we left high school and we got into college, that's what I was going to study. I said, I want to study graphic communications, right? I love the printing and the designing and the drawing, right? And all the artistic parts of it. And so we decided to go into that. And in college, they said part of if you want to do this full time and as a business and you want to grow, you have to take finance, right?
Okay.
Now, mind you, I'll be honest with you, I've never been a fan of math. It is true. It is a fact. I do build. I use a measuring tape. I know how to read a measuring tape. But math was just never my strong suit.
Yeah.
Needless to say, in college, when we were doing the courses and doing the small graphic communications, they said, you got to take finance. So we took some finance courses. And I don't like math, but I'm good at it. But I understand it, right? And I use it. And something just caught my attention. And we were taking our graphic communications and finance, and we were going hand in hand. And somewhere along that line in college, I just took a hard left, and somebody was like, finance is a growing field. There's a high need, right? That would be a great area for you to go into. So we did. We left the graphic communications aside.
Wow.
We continued into finance in the state of California. Back in the day, I was a fully licensed investments advisor. So I had my Series 6, Series 63, 7, life and health, property and casualty. In the state of California, I worked for several different school districts, several different financial institutions. I had my own wealth management agency. And that was our field, man. For many years, I sat behind a desk with a suit and tie and just worked on numbers.
All right. Well, I live in California, so I'm going to give you a call, maybe not about decks, but I got some financial questions. It's fascinating to me that you went that route, because I was sitting down with a gentleman named Sharad Patel, who was on the Strong Conversations podcast, and he told everyone advice. His advice was take an accounting class, take a finance class. Even if you have no interest in it, it will change your life for the better.
Absolutely.
And for you, it literally changed your life and your career path for many, many years. You were going to do graphic design for the most part, and instead you do the finance thing. Now, you just said you were indoors, crunching numbers, suit and tie. Obviously you got all the fancy letters after your name.
Yeah.
But at some point, you decide you don't want to do this necessarily every day with your life anymore. You're gonna go build decks.
Yeah. So we ran that for many years, right? And it was a lot of experience and a lot of great people that we worked with. But ultimately, you hit a wall.
Yeah.
Right. You get tired of where you are. You're stagnant, and you just need that drastic change. I needed that drastic change, and so we had several conversations, right, with my wife and kids, and we just needed a shift. And so I sold the last agency I had. I was working in downtown Los Angeles at the Wells Fargo building, one of those beautiful high-rise buildings on the 70th something floor. So it was done. It was a nice era, but I was done with it. And so what happened was I ended up selling my agency. I went home, and for 3 weeks I sat in this just bad, funky space, right? Because everything I had known, everything I had poured my heart and soul into, it was just done, and I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine that feeling of like if you took this different path from college, you have all of these credentials, you're working, and it's like the path just dead ends.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so here's what happened throughout my entire financial career. Just about back in I'm going to say 2003, 2004. Jeez, I just gave my age away. So 20 years, right? So about 20 years ago, there was an opportunity. A good buddy of mine was doing a lot of nonprofit, construction, a lot of just Habitat for Humanity, building churches, right, building different spaces, libraries, hospitals, and he presented to me the idea to just help him. He said, "Hey, if you got some time in the evenings, right, on the weekends, are you available?" Right, and I said, "Yeah, man, I'm for it."
Yeah,
I don't know what to do. I said, "But if you just want me to show up and swing a hammer, I'm all for it." So I showed up with him. Now, mind you, this was during my office days. So it's just evenings and weekends. I take the suit off, put some jeans on, and I'd go out and just give him a hand, right? And we'd build some real cool things, right? It was either, some building got burned and damaged, or they just, need something replaced.
Whatever the job was. Yeah.
I did that for 10 years, volunteering in the construction industry without making a single cent.
Wow.
I wholeheartedly volunteered, but the offset was experience, right?
I mean,
how do you value that?
Yeah.
How do you value that? But for 10 years, I built industrial, commercial, residential homes. I got to the point where I bought a truck and I was comfortable reading plans and running crews. So I bought a truck. I had some tools, and I would just do that on the weekends and in the evenings, right? And my wife and I would go and do that sometimes, and it was just such a good, kind of give back experience, right? And so when I hit this wall and I was at home for 3 weeks, right, trying to figure out what to do, I said, you know what, hon? Bills don't stop, right? I got to make some money.
Got to make some money,
right?
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm gonna go into construction. I got a truck sitting out there. I got some tools. I got some experience. I've never done it secularly, right? But I figured I can go and find a job in construction, right? It's never dead. And then I'll figure out what I want to do, where I want to go. That was 9 years ago now.
Wow.
And I haven't looked back since, and I don't miss the office world.
Look, if you're looking at this camera, if you're watching this right now, look at the smile on his face when he's talking about not being in the office.
I don't miss it,
This guy's got it figured out.
I don't miss it, right? It's such a good feeling to be out and see the air and the projects and the material and the clients and just the whole experience.
Yeah.
But needless to say, I definitely know that having that financial background is one of the reasons why I've been able to be consistent, right?
It makes you a better businessman, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really cool to think about too, because I would imagine your passion for graphic design, you got to come up with a logo, you got to come up with all this stuff.
I came up with our own logo.
So,
we sat there. Yeah, we sat there a couple of days. The logo was fun. Yeah.
So you got to even scratch that itch a little bit doing Hollywood Decks. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said 9 years ago. You told me about 6 years ago is when you moved to Florida, right?
Yep.
What went into that move? What was the decision to leave California and go to the other side of the continent?
Yeah.
And park your flag there.
Same. I think with my wife and I, we've had that conversation, right, where we don't want to become, stagnant. Don't flatline. We don't want to settle. Life changes, man. Life throws curveballs at you, and you got to be able to adjust.
Yeah.
And so, not only having that big adjustment from work happen for us, but my wife and I had kids, and we wanted something different for the kids.
Yeah.
Right. We knew what it was growing up in Los Angeles. Beautiful city, right? It's got a special spot in our heart.
Yeah.
But not for our kids, right? We just wanted something more, and that's a responsibility as a parent, right? You want something better for your kids, right? And so we talked about it for a couple of years, and so throughout those years, we would travel because I have a lot of family in North Florida and in South Florida. So we would travel to visit family now and then. We'd go to a few different states and mostly Florida. And so when we put everything on the table and we were trying to figure out where to go, everything was on there, brother. Alaska, Mexico, Utah. I mean, everything was on the table, right? Florida. We talked about Canada, just everything. We're like, we know we want to get out of California.
I want to see Hollywood Decks in Alaska.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Maybe we're going to branch out. But, the simple way I put it is there's no more gold in California.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? There's no more gold in California. And so we're like, we got to go find elsewhere. And so it took us 2 years to make that decision, to make the preparations and the adjustments. And after those 2 years, we got rid of everything we had. All we took was my work truck.
Man.
And we had a little sedan, a little 4-door sedan. And we said, whatever we can fit between my wife and I and our 3 kids into this work truck and this sedan, that is all that's going with us.
I mean, that is incredible, the risk for you to do that, right? And pick up and go to the other side. But the confidence that you had in yourself, and that as a family, right? You said your wife is integral in naming the company. She's right by your side. That's amazing.
Absolutely. So we pulled the trigger on it, got rid of everything, loaded up, right? Say farewell to the family and the in-laws. And we drove. We drove across town 3,000 miles to Florida.
How was that with 3 kids?
And reset. That was slightly pre-COVID, right? When that was kind of peaking.
Yeah.
So at first we said we're going to do we want to do a whole cross-country road trip, right? We're going to stop. It's going to be a whole experience. And when that came about, we're like, let's blow through
Highway 10.
So we didn't stop. We just blew through it. We're like, all right, kids, the only reason we're stopping, right, is food and bathroom.
Sleep, yeah.
That's it. We blew right through it, man. And it was a blast. We definitely had some fun stops. The kids had some fun experiences during that trip.
Yeah.
But we just made it out. Straight shot out to Florida.
Awesome, man. You guys are listening to Strong Conversations. I'm sitting down with Tony McKlem from Hollywood Decks. We just got the origin story. We just figured out how you got to Florida. I got questions about building decks in Florida.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about some of the charitable giving that you're involved with, and how you're giving back beyond what you've already talked about. I want to talk about some of the challenges maybe that you are seeing in this industry. We got a lot to talk about here. Let's get to alligators, because I am terrified of alligators. I went golfing in Tampa Bay, Florida.
Yeah.
I hit a ball into the water, and I foolishly went over there to get the ball, and I saw a little tiny baby gator. It was probably about 6 or 7 inches, this gator. And I was like, oh, a cute little baby alligator. And then there was another cute little baby alligator. And then I saw Bubbles, and I saw Mama Gator come popping up. And she was not a cute alligator. She was like a 6 to 7 foot long alligator. And needless to say, I took the drop and left the ball there. It was now her ball. And I have never golfed in Florida since.
Yeah, they tell us, when you see small alligators, as nice and as cute as they are, that's someone you don't go near, because Mama is always nearby. So do not approach a baby alligator just because it looks cute. Yeah. So there's been a few. When we first moved out here, we were renting, and there's a little lake. There's a lot of water.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of greenery out here, right? Coming from LA to Florida, there's a lot of greenery and water. And originally when we came out here, we're like, oh, look, it's nice to have a little fountain and some water. There was constantly a 3 or 4 foot gator in there. Just that was his stomping ground. He would come and he would go whenever he wanted, and come and go, and we just knew, right? Just let it be. Don't make eye contact
with the alligators. Like, all right, that's your side. I'm like, wow. Yeah.
And here's something I learned. I'll tell you. Here's a footnote. Gator nuggets is a real thing in Florida.
Gator. Do I want to know what gator nuggets are?
Gator nuggets is a real thing. So for those of you that don't know, if you guys come out to Florida and you visit, don't ask for the chicken nuggets. Ask for the gator nuggets. They're must try.
Well, I did have I think a gator burger down in San Diego actually one time.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
I didn't mind it. Yeah,
I usually do the fish in San Diego, but that works too.
Well,
Yeah.
I was still mad at the gator in Florida, so I was like, I'm going to eat this one. All right. Well, okay. So you've seen the gators when you're building decks.
Yeah. They'll peek out. They'll pop around. We have some fun footage every now and then, and we'll get all sorts of wildlife, right? Turtles are often coming up. We got a lot of falcons, a lot of birds. We get some gators, and usually we'll just pause, right? Enjoy the moment, get some footage.
Yeah.
Just let them do what they got to do, and then we once they leave, we move on.
You said footage, so tell everybody. I mean, you've got a pretty good social media presence out there. So what do you do? Are you filming every project you're doing, or what are you doing?
Oh man, we don't know what we're doing on there, brother, but we're just having fun and we're sharing the experience. But so oddly enough, even when I was in Los Angeles, I like the process, right? I was enjoying it so much. We put cameras and we would just shoot what we were doing, the process. And so for years now, I just had a habit of setting up a camera and going, whether that's a time lapse or a drone, right, or GoPros. I was just always trying to capture the process. When we came out to Florida, one of my office managers, right, she said, hey, you gotta do social media.
Yeah.
That's just part of the industry, part of the business nowadays. It's free marketing. You have to put some time and energy into social media. Now, at a personal level, I don't do social media. I don't have personal accounts. I don't care to be on social media at a personal level. But for the business, I said, I understand it, right?
Yeah.
So when we came out here and we established Hollywood Decks from scratch, that was one of the first things we did, was to open up and set up a social media account. And originally, I think the first year was just like, before and after shots, right? So it was like, here's
what
the
it was.
broke down deck.
Yeah.
Here's what it looks like. Somewhere along the lines, my office guy was like, hey, you should show the process.
The process.
Right? Like, what did you do? And I said, all right, yeah, you're right. And we have that. So then we started uploading time lapses, right? And a little more of the demo and the build up. And we did that for about the first year here in Florida. And then ultimately she says, you need to show face. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Right? She says, well, in social media, she stays all up to date. And to the day, she keeps like sending me like, here's what you got to do now. She tries to keep up with the algorithm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carla.
So
Carla's constantly keeping me on my toes, right? And so year 2 in Florida, she said, hey, you got to show face, right? She goes, people want to see the interaction and see you and make that connection. So year 2, we started showing face on Instagram. Holy smokes, Batman.
Just blew up.
That blew up. Yeah, that has been a huge shift for us.
Well, it's the moneymaker,
in terms of, I don't know what it is, man. I try to wash my face every day, but that's made a big difference into our social media.
Oh, right on. So talk to me about the social media a little bit, because you were telling me on the weekends, because you have all this footage, you guys actually have fun with it on top of already having fun, and post kind of bloopers from the.
Yeah. And so, it's funny because social media is about consistency, right? They
Yeah.
tell you be consistent, be consistent. But what they don't tell you is if you're too consistent, then you just become boring and you're a nag, right? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to see the same thing over and over and over
Right.
again, right? So how are you going to be consistent but also be surprising and be current and be
Yep.
relevant? So what we do is, throughout the week, we're on our projects, right? We're always putting our decks together. But because we're also trying to show face and record those videos, we have tons of laughs and bloopers and all the issues we run into during the builds. And so typically what we do is during the week, we just show our builds, right? And we keep the folks informed and entertained. And then on weekends, we have fun with it, man. On weekends, we upload all our bloopers.
That's good.
So usually on Saturday or Sunday mornings, you can go onto the account and you just see some of the bloopers we have, either with myself, my foreman, my team.
Yeah.
Sometimes even the clients or just the tools. And that just lets folks know, look, it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
We're not 100% all the time. We run into issues, we run into problems. There's just part of it, man. Live and you learn and
But
you keep going.
That's the human condition. We all have that, right?
Absolutely.
And if you guys are watching this right now, it's Strong Conversations, check the notes of the show. We'll have all of Tony McKlem and Hollywood Decks social medias. He doesn't have social media, but the company
Hollywood
does.
Decks.
Hollywood Decks. You got Instagram, you got YouTube, you got all the fun stuff there. So I want to talk to you. You and I were talking yesterday, and you have some passion projects outside of your passion for the decking industry in Florida.
Absolutely.
I want to touch on that, and I want to talk about some of the challenges that you're seeing in the industry, and Strong, because I love what you're doing. I'm just so fascinated with everything you're doing. But talk about some of the things you're doing outside of Hollywood Decks that you're passionate about.
Yeah. So, man, it's been 10 years now. I had a nephew pass away in Florida from leukemia. He battled childhood cancer for 5-6 months, and he lost his battle to it. Strong kid, man. Every time we learn about childhood cancer, not only is cancer not fair, but when you see a kid going through it, it hits a different note. And more than that, when you see a kid right on their hospital bed battling it, man, those kids are so much stronger than we are.
Right.
I don't know where these kids get that braveness, right, and just that like maturity.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm gonna be okay, right? I'm gonna fight it. And us as adults, as parents, right? We're broken.
Yeah.
Right? But so I lost a nephew to childhood cancer, and in honor of him, his mom and a few of us started a nonprofit, and it's the Brian Strong Fighting Childhood Cancer Foundation. The Brian Strong Foundation, and I sit on the board of that foundation. The purpose of it is to provide resources and support and financial aid to those kids, to those families that are currently in the hospital now. So we respect and we appreciate, right, the support that cancer research gets.
Right.
And we know there's tons of organizations out there that are getting funds, raising funds, and donating these funds to cancer research. Absolutely, right? That's one part of the battle. The flip coin to that is that those kids need help now.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have months or years to wait for a cure. And so what happens is when there's a kid in the hospital battling cancer, some parents are losing their jobs because they're going to be bedside by their kids.
Right.
And employers aren't going to wait 2, 3, 4 months while you're in chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of parents will lose their job to be with their child in the hospital. There's other kids in that household. Right. And how do you find the balance between your child that needs you at the bedside,
right,
and your 2, 3, 4 other kids at home, right, that also need to go to school and need to eat and want to have fun and want to be regular kids? Obviously the marriages find a lot of difficulty during that process, right? The separation and just how do you sync up? So when my sister went through it and when we got involved into that whole world, we said, we got to do something now. We got to provide some kind of support now, right? It's not a matter of waiting. And so what we do is we raise funds, and so we keep a rolling donation on our website, and we have different campaigns throughout the year Well, we raise funds, we raise toys, right? We raise different resources, but we go and we are at the front lines in the hospitals. There's a local hospital in Jacksonville, Florida. That's the
Wow.
Wolfson's Children's Hospital. They do a phenomenal job, great team in there. But we're in the hospital. We are boots on the ground visiting these families and giving them checks, toys, anything we can help them to be able to go through this ordeal and come out just with a little bit of sanity. And so the Brian Strong Foundation is providing those resources now, right? That's the goal.
Well, I commend you and everyone involved with it. That's incredible because you're right. There's a lot of wonderful organizations that are running the marathon. They're trying to find a cure. They're trying to stop, cancer, but there's a sprint happening at the same time. And that sprint is often forgotten about or overlooked or just not even ever comes to the forefront of the mind. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that. We're all affected by cancer on some level. And like you said, it hits especially hard when it's a child.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. I appreciate you guys doing that.
No, appreciate it. And so what we did was with Hollywood Decks is now all of our uniforms carry the golden ribbon, right? Okay. So all of our crew and we all raise awareness. At bare minimum, we raise awareness because folks need to know it's not rare, right?
Yeah.
We hear that all the time. Cancer's rare. It's not rare by any means. So all of our uniforms, all of our team constantly wear the golden ribbon when we're out on the field. From each project that we put together, a portion of our builds goes to the Brian Strong Foundation.
Wonderful.
And so the goal is, again, just to give back some funds, give back some of our time and resources, right, to a better purpose.
So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking about putting a new deck in, just keep in mind, not only would you get an amazing deck from Hollywood Decks, but you're going to be giving back to a wonderful organization as well. So just keep that in mind. You could make your space better and make somebody's life a little bit better in the meantime. Tony, a couple other questions for you.
Shoot.
So you moved to Florida. We talked about that. Like I said, Gators, we covered all that. I am fascinated because you pick up, you move stakes. You got your 3 kids, which we were talking. I love the fact that they help you in the summer times.
Yeah.
But what are the challenges? What was your experience like, and what are you doing about maybe some of those challenges that you've seen in that Florida market as a contractor?
Interestingly enough, coming from the West Coast, and in California, you can drive in every 1-2 miles, you're going to find a fully stocked lumber yard, right? It's a one-stop shop. You walk in, you grab whatever you need off the shelf, put it in your truck, and you keep going. When we came out to Northeast Florida, none of that. There is not a one-stop shop. And we get it. It's a different market. So when we found out that we only had one specialty yard in our area, we said, all right, well, they're going to be, our bread and butter, right? That's who we're going to feed off of. So we went, set up a great relationship, right? Back then, some great folks that were running that yard. And to the date, we still keep in contact with those original folks. But because it's one, right? Obviously, supply is limited, access is limited, pricing is limited.
Right.
And so we've noticed that from when we moved out there to now, COVID happened, right? So material was scarce, lead times were ridiculous, right? The prices have increased. And then for them, staffing has changed, right? It's hard to find good hands and to keep good hands. So it's just been kind of the perfect storm. And ultimately, we're realizing it's hard for us to find just good material, right, at a good price and being able to maintain that steady flow into our projects, right? How do we do that? That's been a big challenge for us throughout these years.
Yeah. Well, and you're not alone in that. I think just in general, regardless of industry, what you see is kind of an erosion of quality standards. And that's a huge concern. Restaurants, go to Netflix and try to watch a show and tell me it's better than where it was 6-7 years ago. We just accept less, right? And I don't think we should. And it sounds like you're not really looking to accept less either.
No, exactly. And we've had that conversation, right? And I tell them, look, there's got to be a give and go, right? We got to be able to give and take, and find a middle ground. But ultimately, I have said too, just because you're the only supplier in the game, you're not going to have me up against the wall, right? You don't think you're going to set these standards to overprice me, right? And to under deliver goods and have long lead times. And I'm just going to sit back here
and accept it.
Yeah, we're going to find another way.
Well, I'm looking forward. I know you will. I would not bet against you. I'll tell you that. Everything I've seen, the man is, he's got the graphic design game down. He's got his finances in order. He can swing a hammer. I think you're winning at life, as they say.
That's the goal. We're trying, man. We're trying hard.
Well, I got one more question for you, Tony, here. Sitting down with Tony McKlem from Hollywood Decks. We are in Las Vegas. We're recording this live here at the Simpson Strong Tie booth, Strong Conversations podcast studio. But, you know, we're in Vegas. There's casinos everywhere. There's all kinds of gambling going out there. And like I said, I wouldn't bet against you. But if you had to play one casino game and $1 million on the line, what casino game are you playing and why?
I don't gamble, but I'm a Texas Hold'em kind of fellow.
You're going poker.
I can play some poker, man. I can play some cards, and I can bluff them better than most out there. So I'll go on Texas Hold'em, bro. I can bluff a mean game.
I like the confidence. I don't gamble, but I play poker. There's no gamble there.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, anything else you want to, talk about before we part ways here?
I think ultimately, man, we say we're in the people business, right? So for all of you, those that are working for somebody else or working for your own, just know that we're in the people business, right? Regardless of brands, people, right? That goes a long way. Regardless of how much experience, how many followers, how much money you're generating, whatever all that is, be good people, right? We have these wonderful connections with you, with Simpson, right? And it's nice to see a great product backed by great people. And it's rare to find nowadays, but that's why we keep coming back, right? And that's why our customers keep coming back, right? So we want to kind of, I guess, leave that out there for you, right? And leave that for you as the listener and for you that are looking for us. Just remember that. Be good people, and you're going to definitely get what you give back.
Well, he is good people, ladies and gentlemen. Tony McKlem from Hollywood Decks. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate
Strong
the chat,
Conversations. Man. And stay tuned. We got more coming from NAHB's IBS 2025 here in Las Vegas. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.